We must take these abstract thoughts and do some abstretching with them, right? And speaking of the stomach, why is it that we get hungry, right? Hunger is to want. I'm feeding off my environment the same way I would feed off a woman because the woman is my past, my future, my environment. So you're talking about the past, the future, or a woman or a dream. You're talking about your environment. So of course I'm feeding off my environment, right? As I speak, I'm feeding off this thing around me. So why wouldn't I be in love at every moment right now, right? Well, okay, well, once you get something you're not going to like because you have it already, you can't see what you are. So maybe love has to do something with some form of identification. We want to let go of the stories. We tell ourselves that we can be so radical, even the sensations they might bring, if only temporarily, right? So why do we feel hunger pains? If I'm constantly feeding off my environment, that must mean I'm not constantly feeding off my environment. My environment is a void, and that is a lie. It just takes however long it's for me to get hungry again for the lie to fade away. It just takes that long for the lie to fade. So I'm not actually feeding myself anything. I'm actually starving myself with hot air, right? And by the time that lie wears off and the denial can be thrust forward no longer, then I get hungry again to fill myself up with another lie. Right, so why do I get hungry though, right? Okay, so I figured out we go to sleep because obviously I'm a statement of whatever I am, right? But down here we get in the way of each other. But up there we don't. So I'm moving up there, right? But down here it gets separated from it. And I would call that sleep because the further you get away from your dreams, the more bored you get and the more you want to go to sleep, right? So I might move my arm over here up there, but down here I got this motherfucker to the left, the right of me, right? So I can't move my arm. So my arm goes into dreamland until it wavers back in its formation, and then we can meet again on this side of the gravity. So that's a question for the ages. Why the fuck do I gotta constantly get hungry over and over again? I worked out why we gotta toil, right? I'm sorry, God, for said I want to slap you. But that was reasonable, right? That was reasonable. But I figured it out. I know why we toil now. I know why we must toil. But why must we get hungry? You think getting hungry is related to why we must toil? You think they're related some kind of way? Because it don't make no sense to me that I can fill something up and be in a state of a certain way and then in the future not be that way anymore unless I'm in a constant state of super imposition, right? Constantly uncertain about my state of being. Why would that ever be so? Why would I not be certain, as certain as I am when I forget my hunger in the midst of my music creation that distracts me from that what? Depth of environment? Supplements me, does it not? Even if only temporarily. Because at some point I gotta take a piss, right? If you think about it, eating something is my environment taking a piss inside of my mouth. Think about it. If my shit is fertilizer, that means when I eat, is my environment technically pissing into my mouth. It's just I'm pulling the piss in with my biceps. You understand what I'm saying? But anyway, it's just a new way of thinking about why the fuck am I in the prison of life to be hungry over and over again, even though I just fed myself? Why? Why is time winding down? Why? Why do I remember being hungry if I'm full right now? If I'm full right now, why the fuck would it ever be beneficial to remember being hungry? Why would it ever be beneficial to remember being hungry if I'm full? Because I'm never full. I'm constantly feeding off my environment, which is nothing, which means fullness never existed. Fullness never existed, motherfucker. That's why you get hungry again, cause you never full, you never filled the hole. That's why it keeps coming back, cause you never filled it for real. So I'm eating all this goddamn food, turkey, beef, and good stock, right? But it's not really filling me. So why would I get hungry again? What could I eat and never get hungry again? Cyanide. I eat some rat poison, I'll never get hungry again. Mix it with peanut butter too, yeah. Right? So that's the joke, but it's like, think about it. Think about it, right? The hunger must be the food. The hunger must be the food. That's the only thing you ain't gotta feed. You definitely gonna be hungry again, right? You definitely gonna be hungry. You definitely gonna be hungry, right? Hunger is the food. And if that bitch comes to save your dreams by cooking you a nice home cooked dinner, something about your mind state is gonna change, ain't it? You're not the same person when you're hungry as when you're full. You're not. You're not the same person. But there is a constant tax of existence for just taking up space. For just taking up space is a tax to the system. So you have to pay for that, and it can be represented in a number of different ways. It can be represented sequentially, but it also can be represented in pairs, right? Like my bags under my eyes to pay for her vacations. Right? So why do we get hungry? Because the hunger is the fuel, right? The hunger is necessary, but there also must be the possibility of reward, just not at the same time. Because you can't do both at the same time. But they both must be there to get the wheel spinning, I guess. But why must the wheel spin? Why must the wheel spin? Maybe that's a better question. Why are we moving in the first place? Why must there be motion? Why must there be a reward?